Those of you who are here, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to leave any comments in the chat window, and we'll address those at the end. If you have any questions that come up afterwards, please feel free to email me. You can reach me through my website, or my email address will be at the end of the presentation. And or if you'd like a copy of the presentation, please feel free to leave a comment with your email address or contact me again, and I can send you a version to download. A little bit about me. My background is I'm an occupational therapy assistant licensed with the state of Alabama. I have primarily worked in pediatrics, and the majority of my caseload has been kids between the ages of 5 and actually some young adults up into the early 20s, and most of them having ADHD. So I have worked with this population for a very long time. And because I got so interested in it, I actually received an additional certification as an ADHD rehab services provider, which required 30 additional hours of education on ADHD and how to best assist kids who have challenges as a result of ADHD. I am a mom of 3. 2 of my kids, well, one of them does have ADHD. One has anxiety and ADHD. And then the third one we'll see. Genetics are pretty strong in that case, but they're all very smart, wonderful kids. But we all know there's challenges at times. So I'm very grateful for everything I've learned. And part of what's made me so interested in this career is just noticing in myself how different I am as a mom now than now that I've had all this education in how to best help my kids. And unfortunately, how we were doing things before. And, I think sometimes it can get really easy to kind of beat yourself up about how you interact with your kids before you know kind of what's going on with them for sure. And but it's never too late to try new things and to just be transparent with your kids and tell them, you're learning too, and try to help develop new strategies moving forward. So I'm really excited to help partner with families and teach them some of the things I've learned. And I've learned a lot too from working with them. As we know, if you know anyone with ADHD, they're all very, very different. And something that works for one kid or one adult is not going to be the same thing that's going to work for someone else. So, yeah, the more people I work with, the more I learn as well. So I just love it. So we're going to start off with just a little bit about what is executive functioning. It seems like that's kind of a buzzword lately. A lot of people talk about that. There's a ton of Facebook reels about executive functioning. Different people focus on different elements of it. But basically, it's a higher order of processes that organize different input from all different parts of your brain. A lot of it is in the frontal lobe, but it's develops as you age. And for people with ADHD especially, this can be delayed 2 to 3 years, which is where we start seeing challenges with kids, is when what you need them to do is farther beyond the rate at which they're naturally developing. So some of these functions are in this graphic here. Working memory. So when I explain that to families, I talk about that process that you use to like do math in your head, for example. So if someone is, if you say like, what's 2 plus 3? Now add 4. Now take away 1. Now add 6 more. Everything your brain just did, and that was really quick, is working memory. It's the part of your brain that is using current information that is possibly drawing on something that is familiar, like that with math. Those were pretty quick math skills. So you had some basis of familiarity to work from, but you're kind of impermanently holding things to work it out in your mind, and then you're giving out an answer at the end. So another version of this is multi-step directions. So we think about in a classroom when the class comes in the morning, especially at the beginning of the year when kids are learning routine and structure, the teacher might say, all right, everyone, put your backpacks on your chairs, put your lunch boxes by the door, get out a paper and get out paper and a pencil and write your name at the top of the page. Right? That can seem like a lot of directions, especially if you're a kindergartner versus if you're a fifth grader who's been going to school for a long time. And again, you can draw on some of those familiar experiences. You kind of know what your teacher's going to ask you to do, and you might be able to anticipate some of those commands. But if they're novel or you're new to school, it's a lot more effort to remember all the steps you're supposed to do, or especially if you have to change the order from how they were given to you. So that's working memory. Flexibility, plans change, things change, being able to adapt. Planning. So knowing that you have a week-long trip coming up and you're going somewhere with temperatures way different from you. Are you good at knowing to check the weather and the forecast? Are you good at knowing what you need to bring? Or for kids in school, if they have a test coming up, planning out when they need to start studying. Is it the day before? Probably for a lot of them it is. But hopefully you help them learn how to start further out so they're not cramming. Task initiation is a big one. And I think a lot of times what looks like laziness or reluctance or avoidant behaviors from kids can be linked to task initiation. So, for example, they need to write a 10-page paper for school and they just will not do it. They have a hard time getting started. Task initiation, not knowing where to start or how to begin an overwhelming project can make them not want to do it at all. And it can lead to outbursts, emotional dysregulation, and so on. A lot of times just helping a kid figure out the first step, they can kind of get it going from there. That's not all kids, but there's a good amount who, once they get the ball rolling, they really do kind of intuitively start to figure out how to continue with their efforts. Sustained attention, obviously, is one that's challenging, especially for our friends who are daydreamers. So that can be difficult. We think about those kids who have ADHD in school and they look like they're behaviorally doing really great. They're able to sit there and attend, but then they go home and they try to do their math homework and it all looks completely unfamiliar. And it's because even though they were sitting there staring forward, not jumping out of their desk or talking, they may not have actually been paying attention. So then again, you may have some of those avoidant or disruptive behaviors when you're trying to get them to do their math homework because it makes them feel like they don't know what's going on. Time management. This is a huge one. They sometimes call this time blindness. It can look like not knowing how long activities take. So again, that's where we'll have some behavioral problems. You ask a kid to clean their room and it feels like it's going to take 4 years. And so they don't want to start because it seems like it's going to take way too long. Or we need to leave in 5 minutes. And they know you say that, but then they go pet the dog and then they go can't find their shoes and then they can't on and on and on. So a lot of times just helping kids and adults even be more aware of how long activities take can help with that time management piece. Emotional control and metacognition are two of the pieces that I see the most when people seek me out for services. Metacognition is a really big piece. So that's our thinking about how we think, right? So it's funny because a lot of the kids I work with, they actually have fantastic metacognition skills when I ask them questions about it. For example, hey, it looks like you didn't get your math homework done today. Why didn't you do that? Like, oh, I don't know. And like, oh, well, tell me what happened when you started doing your math homework. And they'll stop and think about it and like, well, it's boring and I don't like it. I'm like, oh, so what do you think you were telling yourself when you had to do your math homework? And they said, oh, well, I was telling myself, I hate this, it's stupid, I don't like it. I'm like, okay, great. So you're able to remember that you are saying things to yourself. So then what we practice is the value in the things that we say to ourselves and being more mindful and aware of what we say to ourselves, because that does guide our behavior. Emotional control, that's one obviously because parents start getting frustrated because kids are either misbehaving, meaning getting into trouble, talking back to teachers, getting into arguments with peers, and they may even not be sure why they're so upset or so frustrated. And it can make it difficult to get things done when you have those highly emotional, dysregulated kids. I recently read this book, Grit by Angela Duckworth. I highly recommend it. That is another big component when parents come to me. They say, I really want my kid to develop grit. And that's just being able to do hard things for a long time, basically. And for our kids with ADHD or executive functioning challenges, this is really difficult. Part of it is that time blindness piece we talked about. Things that are really difficult that take a long time for us feel like they take forever for our kids, especially if they're hard. Also, a lot of kids with ADHD are insanely smart. They're some of the smartest kids and adults I've ever met in my life. And unfortunately, part of that intelligence is they feel like it's a waste of time to do things that feel redundant or not valuable to them or not important. They're not connected to some kind of overarching goal that they have. And and so they want to quit. And when they quit, it reinforces that they should just give up on things that are hard. So one of the challenges she recommends in her book that I love and that we've tried to use as a family is everybody picks a hard thing. So helping everybody choose something that's harder than what you're currently able to do, but something that you can help them develop concrete action steps to achieve. And you agree that you are all going to stick with your hard things. So it could be a physical challenge. You want to be able to run 10 minutes without stopping. You want to be able to do 20 push-ups. That was my son's. So then we talked about, okay, well, how many can you do right now? Okay, well, you can do 7. Fantastic. That's awesome. 7 push-ups. How many push-ups do you want to try to do tomorrow to get to 20 push-ups in a day? So helping them break down these goals, these things that they are currently not able to do, right? That's the biggest piece. We want to pick something that is harder than what they can currently do, but that is not impossible. And that is something that they can control their level of effort so that they can build that confidence and build those skills and see the value in doing things that are hard. Um, and in executive functioning, they sometimes refer to that as goal-directed persistence, which is a challenge for kids with ADHD. Part of it is that sustained attention as well. It requires a lot of work that's hard and boring, and ADHD brains seek out novelty and interest. And because they are so smart, they know this thing is really hard, but I could be spending this time instead doing something that's really fun. I'd rather do the fun thing. So there is a lot to be gained in having your kids learn how to do hard things. It really does hit a lot of these targets. So if nothing else, that can be a really great place to start, is having everybody pick their hard thing to start with. And then talking about it. How's it going? What are you learning about yourself? And celebrating the progress along the way. Buddy, you can do 10 push-ups now? That's awesome. How often have you been trying? Oh, you haven't tried in a month? What if we try together and we do it a couple times a week? What days would work best for you? Providing some of that accountability to model for them how you would start doing things that are hard. So here's just another nice infographic I like about explaining executive functioning skills. So I thought I'd throw this in there. And now we're going to talk about how you can create more opportunities to develop executive functioning skills. So one very common time that people talk about is the morning. I think this is this is my last bullet point on here, but I'm going to talk about it first. The importance of parent regulation. The morning is stressful. Societally, it feels really bad to be late. And there's also, I mean, there's real reasons for that. You get in trouble if your kid's late for school all the time. You have to walk them into the office. It makes you late for work. There's a cascading effect when things are late in the morning, which means it's a really highly pressurized time of day. And as the adult, you are counting on these forces outside of your control, these kids, to do what they need to do so that you can do what you need to do so everyone can get out of the door. So it can be a very emotionally charged time of day. So part of the beginning of that is just acknowledging that to yourself. It's increasing our awareness of, how do I handle the mornings? Is there something I could do so that I can be in the best place possible And what are the benchmarks for me so that I can try to maintain calmness in the morning routine? Instead of being all, okay, we've got 20 minutes, we've got 15 minutes, we've got 10 minutes. What things would make you feel like you are going to be okay? What time, what's that threshold look like? Is it 15 minutes before you leave the door? You need everybody ready? Is it 10? Um, Figuring out what that looks like for you so that you can manage your emotions, because we know that our emotions feed other people's just like theirs feed us, right? So, when you come into the room and you're running around and you're trying to get stuff going, they feel that energy. And kids with ADHD, especially, and with emotional regulation challenges, are like little sponges. So make it fun if you can, and also prep. Whatever you can do the night before is wonderful. And even more than that, to really boost the executive functioning challenge, ask your kid what they think they need to have ready the night before. When you're first starting this, you can even tell them, hey, buddy, I noticed I'm really stressed out in the mornings and I want us to have a fun start to the day. I think I need to do ABC tonight to make sure I'm ready for tomorrow. What do you think you need to do to help you be ready for tomorrow? Right? Open it up. You'll be surprised how much these kids actually know that they need to do. They do the same things every day in, day out. But getting yourself ready in the morning, especially for a lot of these kids, does require a lot of working memory. What have you done already? What do you have left to do? How much time does it take you to do it? Is it hard to find your shoes? Is it hard to find anything that creates a barrier is going to create more of a load on your kid? So, but for school, the nice thing is they do it all the time. It's a repetitive behavior, right? So starting with asking them, what do you think you need to have ready? And if they forget something, see if you can ask them a question. Oh, you mentioned so many awesome things. Isn't there something really important you need for class? Oh, yeah, your Chromebook. Awesome. In addition, having a calendar out, if there's, with young kids, there's dress up days, there's school parties. There's all kinds of things that come up during the week, picture day. Putting that in a place and showing them how you would possibly look at the calendar. Let's make sure there's nothing extra going on tomorrow. Oh, you're staying after school to go to sports. What else might need for that? And in the beginning, you're going to walk them through how you would look at it, and then you would ask them to look, and then you want them to kind of take that over. Another big one, asking questions, very simple, asking questions instead of giving commands. One of the biggest complaints I get from the kids I work with is they're tired of their parents bossing them around all the time. So it's kind of like a little bit of a Jedi mind trick. But for example, instead of saying, hey, go put your shoes on, you could say, hey, buddy, you're so close to being ready to leave. It looks like you're just missing one thing. What do you think you're missing so we can head out the door? They're probably going to notice their shoes are missing. If they don't, oh man, it is going to be really weird running around on the playground in your socks today, right? If you have to get real specific, but most of the time, these kids know if you can just give them a couple prompts and let them do the thinking instead. What happens is our kids are aware that we know all the things that they're supposed to do. And because it takes mental effort for them to remember, they are very happy to let you do the work for them. So when I talk to parents, we talk about how, as the adult, you're kind of like the main computer. You have all the information stored inside of you. You know what everybody needs. There's a lot of dads who do this, but I talk to mostly a lot of moms who are the home computer. They know what the weather's going to be, what events are going on, what extra things the kid needs, what they usually forget, what reminders they need. And so because we want to have an easy, smooth morning, the way we mitigate some of that anxiety is by telling everybody what to do, because we are anticipating their needs. But part of that is when you are doing it too well, you remove the opportunity for kids to kind of problem solve and remember what they need to be doing for themselves. And they really can do it, but it can be a difficult transition getting used to allowing your kid to maybe forget their shoes one day, building that extra time in the beginning that if they need to run back upstairs because they forgot something, giving that natural consequence opportunity for them to go and get it because they're probably going to remember it better tomorrow. So, I was talking with a friend today who was saying that she has trouble with her daughter wanting to get dressed in the morning. So we were just throwing ideas out of, well, first being curious. What about getting dressed in the morning do you think is the problem? Is it that the clothing? It could be a sensory issue. It could be it feels endless. It could be she can't find her clothes. For this one, it felt like maybe it was some anxiety about not wanting to go to school and not wanting to leave the house. So if we think that could be what's going on, right, we're going to be curious about what's causing the behavior. We want to try to change that narrative around getting dressed so that it doesn't get so associated with preparing you to leave the house, which is what you don't want to do. So we're going to try a distraction or try to pair it with something fun. So you get to listen to your favorite song. I'm going to see if you can get dressed before your favorite song is done and be back out here. And if you are, maybe there's some little incentive. Maybe you get a special drink. Or in our house, for my 5-year-old who can go through 3 outfits in a morning because sometimes she has a really hard time figuring out what's going to be the cutest thing to wear. When she's all done getting dressed, if she has 5 minutes before we have to leave, which we've shown her the clock, then she gets to watch a Facebook reel on my phone of a dog doing something funny. And it is incredible how hard and how fast that 5-year-old will go to watch a 15-second snippet of a dog doing something ridiculous on Facebook. And it makes it feel more fun to her and she enjoys it. So then she starts building a really fun, positive association with getting dressed quickly so she can spend more time with me and make sure she gets that little bonus. Um, Also, a big thing that I hear is kids with screens. Parents sometimes, because they need time to get stuff done, kids have unlimited access to screens. So sometimes they'll get really zoned out and distracted watching YouTube or something in the morning, and then they're not ready to leave on time. So, making sure that we kids have a checklist of you need to get these things done before you get this, as opposed to because really they don't want you to be mad at them. They don't want to make you late. They probably don't like the feeling of coming in late either. But there is that time blindness issue. And just like happens with us sometimes you start scrolling and you just lose track of time. And then it's really hard to leave doing that and have to go do something that you maybe don't like as much. So that just kind of, and it's a good way to teach kids that even as adults, right, that's a skill we need to have. We have to get all of that stuff out of the way first, make sure we're ready, and then whatever time you have left over, you can kind of use it in a fun way. Um, okay, after school. So now we know our kids are tired. You may have heard the phrase restraint collapse. So especially with our kids with ADHD, it could be a lot of kids struggle with that, but especially our friends who are holding it together all day. Everything is 3 times as hard for them, in terms of paying attention and emotional regulation and all of those things. And so they hold it together all day and then they just kind of let it all go when they get home. So they need some time to kind of readjust and balance themselves before having to start into homework or tasks that are going to require even more ongoing mental effort. So talk about that with your kid. I'm sure a lot of times parents already have some of that time built in, but again, that time awareness, time blindness, trying to make sure there's a hard and fast time on that, so that kids learn how to manage their time and doing that with your kid. So have them look at their school agenda, especially, I see this kids going from 5th grade into 6th grade and middle school where they may have had multiple teachers in 5th grade, but for the most part, those teachers are on a team. They don't typically have tests on the same day. There's way less homework in 5th grade. There's usually more coordination, so they don't have a lot of conflicting assignments. Once they get to middle school, that's not necessarily the case anymore. So it really does become the job of the student, the child, which hopefully doesn't fall on the parents, of balancing the work of multiple classes and more homework. and more challenging homework a lot of the time. So helping your child maneuver their school agenda, whatever platforms they have, usually there's several. So making sure that they know how to work them as well as you do. I have a lot of parents that I know who have these apps on their phone. They can see all of the assignments that are due and when they're due, and they can, again, anticipate their kid comes home. I see you have a report due tomorrow. I see you have a test on Thursday. I see you have this big assignment coming up. Um, as much as possible, instead of informing your child, asking those questions. Hey, buddy, I want you to show me your agenda and what stuff you need to get done today, and you explain to me how you want to do it. What order do they want to do things in? Do they, for planning and organization, can they find all of their papers? How does their binder look? Sometimes teachers will require them to have a certain number of binders. Sometimes it's up to the kid. A lot of times as they get older, teachers don't micromanage that as much. So helping your child develop a system that works for them. Do they need a separate binder inside their folder or a separate folder inside their binder for assignments that are coming up due that week, assignments that they need to turn in, assignments that have been returned, maybe one for each class. Some kids like one giant binder. Some kids like one for each subject, maybe in different colors. Um, so asking your student what works best for them, or if something's not working, if they have, like my daughter for a very long time, one giant binder with frayed papers coming out of the top and loose stuff all over her backpack, just again, starting off with that curiosity. Hey, what's going on here? Do you feel like it's hard to find your papers sometimes? Oh, yeah, it is. They get lost. I don't know where to put them. There's too much. What do you think you need so that you can have your stuff in better places? She's like, I need a new folder. It's like, okay, no problem. Here's another folder. How are you going to organize it? Do you have ideas? Sometimes our kids want our ideas. Sometimes they don't because they know better than us, obviously. So that's, and sometimes we have to let them try it, right? So let them try their different binders and then ask questions. How's that going? We want to follow up because, again, these skills can be a little bit delayed, and we want to give them the freedom to try stuff, but also make sure that we're not giving them more than what they know how to do. So offering suggestions, but asking first if they want them. Do you want to know what I would do for that? As opposed to, here's a binder, here's how you have to organize it, and telling them what to do. Setting the scene. So this was a funny one for me. So I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD, and to be like completely clear, I'm not officially diagnosed with ADHD. In order to be diagnosed as an adult, there's a lot of criteria that you have to meet from when you were a kid. Sometimes they require documentation to prove that this is an ongoing condition that you've had for your whole life. And so I do not technically have an ADHD diagnosis. However, the more I have learned, the more I have found that a lot of the strategies that help people with ADHD have been very helpful for me. So do we need an ADHD diagnosis? Sometimes, not always. It can help you understand yourself, just knowing kind of some of the ways to kind of help yourself be successful. So for me, going through all of this training, I started remembering the way that I studied for stuff in college. I had certain seasons of shows, Friends, that I would watch over and over again, or certain movies, Ever After, Never Been Kissed, that it drove my roommates crazy. They would want a quiet environment to write their papers, and I couldn't focus if it was quiet. I needed to have sound, but it had to be sound that I knew and that wasn't going to surprise me because I'd seen it so many times that it was kind of like white noise, but was a high enough threshold of distraction where it gave me something to tune out so that I could focus. I don't know if any of you are like that. If you are, feel free to share that in the chat as well. I've spoken now to a lot more people who have discovered similar things about themselves. There's certain music that they listen to, or for different subjects, they needed different accommodations. If I had to write a paper, I did need it to be quiet, so I would go somewhere quiet for that. But for math or for busy work or for some things, I did need those movies playing all day long, and I drove my roommates absolutely crazy. So I apologize for that now that I know what that was. Sometimes a quiet place for kids can actually be more distracting, right? Because if our brains are, for ADHD, their brains are continuously seeking out something novel or interesting. So if you are in an environment that is too plain, doesn't have enough going on, is too quiet, it can actually be more distracting because then our brain starts to wander because our brain is trying to create enough input so that we can stay interested and then we end up getting off task. So helping your kid find that right level of, do they need to be in a busy space but have a cleared off desk? Do they need to be in a quiet place by themselves but have music? And so on. So treating it like an experiment and asking your kid to reflect on what works best for them. And that's a skill that's going to benefit them as an adult as well, because we really do want to teach our kids to pay attention to their bodies and to their needs and to be more intuitive and know what they want. So um, last thing on here, incentives, needs versus wants. So in coaching, we talk a lot about starting off with incentives. And for some parents with kids with ADHD, that can be a little bit triggering because I feel like maybe they've tried that before, or they feel like I've heard from parents, they feel like their kids are entitled, they don't really need anything, they don't want to give them more stuff. One thing is, it's not always stuff. We do, like, for example, with those Facebook reels, that's an incentive for a short term. Picking the meal at dinner time, picking the board game you play as a family, picking the movie on a Friday night. So there's ways to do it where you're not giving stuff or treats. But also a big important part of how to help your child understand incentives is helping them differentiate between needs and wants. Can be a really great way to help with that feeling that some parents have that their kids just take for granted all the stuff that they have already or that they get things all the time. So have your kid come up with a needs versus wants list, or when they request a new $150 pair of shoes, or they ask for special, she'll be going to ninth grade next year. So, we had a little burst there of all the things from Sephora and all the skincare that I don't even use for myself at 40 or 41 that I am now. That feels very important. So teaching them early on that those are things that they want. They might need some version of that, but maybe there's a budget of, this is the thing I'll get you that meets the basic need. If you want this fancier thing, here's how you can earn your way towards that through um, completing their agenda one week by themselves, or turning in all of their assignments on time for a specific class that they're having trouble with. And when we are giving incentives, we want to be very, very clear with what the kid has to do to earn that incentive. So, for example, if your child is working on getting out the door on time every day for a week, that's their goal. They want it every day, 5 days, which we wouldn't start with, right? We'd start with one day, build to 2 or 3, and then to a whole week. But let's say we're at the point where their goal is to, for 5 days in a row, get out the door on time. That can be kind of vague, right? What does get out the door on time look like? It could look like a kid who is in their pajamas, holding all of their belongings, running out the door on time, planning to get dressed in the car. So we might want to be more specific. Getting out the door on time looks like you are dressed, head to toe, socks and shoes on, hair brushed, you've brushed your teeth, you've put on deodorant, you have your Chromebook, you have your water bottle and a snack for school in your backpack ready to go. That's what it looks like. That's a lot of things. So they might need a checklist to keep track, to make sure that they've gotten all the things done. And with a goal like that has so many pieces, we might say our goal is to get out of the door on time with all of those things ready, with only one verbal cue or one reminder from a parent. So if they get out the door on time, but the only reason they did is because you are standing over them every 5 minutes saying, hey, buddy, it's time to go. Hey, buddy, where's this? Where's that? Do you have this done? Have you done this yet? You still stink. Go put on deodorant. We're not going to reward that, right? Because that's not the behavior that we want to see. So really outlining that when you give your first clue, say, hey, we're 5 minutes out. I know you really want that incentive that you're working for. This is your one reminder about the time. If I have to say anything again, you're not going to get today checked off. You're not going to get that incentive. So think about what you need to do so we can get out the door. So being very, very explicit, especially in the beginning, setting up some of these goals. And then also, let's say the incentive was they get to pick dinner for the family that Friday night if they made it Monday through Friday. They did it every day. They got out the door on time. They had a good attitude. They didn't even need the reminders. But they get home Friday and they leave their shoes in the middle of the living room for the 4,000th time. And you say, hey, buddy, go put your shoes away. And they roll their eyes at you. They would never, right? Your kid would never. They do. Sometimes they do. They roll their eyes at you. And you'll get mad because sometimes we get mad because who knows what kind of day you had. And it can be very tempting to say, you know what? You're not picking the dinner. You just gave me attitude. But that's not why they earned the dinner. So we do want to talk about that behavior if there's something disrespectful or if they're rude or if there's something else that they have done that you feel like requires a conversation. But we are not going to take away the thing that they earned if they did all of the things to earn it. So I would still let them pick the dinner for that night, but we would need to have a conversation of, hey, maybe next time if you earn an incentive, but then you do A, B, C, you may have to choose dinner from one of these three options, or this is what that could look like. So planning for the next time so that they know there's a consequence to choices, but you can't take away something that they have earned outright. Because then guess what happens the next week? And they're trying to 5 days in a row get ready out the door. They get ready 3 days in a row and they're like, you know what? It's not even worth it because I have to do this 2 more days. It's a lot of effort and I'm probably going to get it taken away anyway, right? A lot of our friends with ADHD, it's not, they don't all have low self-esteem. I don't want to say that. However, they are very hard on themselves. And there's a lot of research that talks about how punishments are really, really not useful for our kids with ADHD. The better way is to help them to learn consequences of their behaviors. And sometimes those are negative because if you do this, this may happen, as opposed to punishing them, which would look more like taking things away. So showing them that they are an active participant and also giving grace where it's needed is important. So more opportunities. I'm not going to go over all of these things. You can look them over. I'll send this out. But basically just other places where you can help build your child's executive functioning skills. So for example, you're going to leave for church on a Sunday or after church. You need to go to the grocery store, you need to go to Target, and you need to go pick up your dog from the groomers. Tell your child the things you need to do and see if they can help you figure out which order you should do your things in, right? That's something that we do all the time that we don't really think about, but it is a skill. And that's a great way for them to practice it. You can show them the map on your phone. Here's where these things are, and here's where our house is. Or we're going to get frozen stuff from the grocery store. So what order do you think we should do these things in? Oh, but then we'll have a dog with us, right? It sometimes gets complicated. So even if the first time you're just talking through how you're doing things in a certain order, to help your kids have more exposure to some of that problem solving. Let your kid help you budget a trip. That can be a really fun one. Hey, we're going away this summer. We are trying to figure out where to go. This is how much we have to spend. Or we want to go to this specific state. What ideas or activities could we find in this area? What kind of place could we stay? How do you pack for that? Having them pack for themselves on trips. My kids get checklists that they make. It used to be I made a checklist and then I had them sit with me and we made a checklist together. And now they make their own checklist and show it to me and I look it over and then I give it back and they go pack their things. Sometimes I still do look over what they've packed because we have had trips where there was one pair of shorts, and you know what? They've never forgotten shorts after that. So sometimes there are natural consequences there, just like there have been for us. I'm sure you can think of times where you have forgotten things, and that has probably been a great lesson for you in a way that you remember to do things differently moving forward. And probably you've developed strategies knowing yourself and knowing what missteps you've made in the past. Meal planning, emotional regulation, this is a big piece, because this is one that the kids deal with so often. And being able to, when you start feeling overwhelmed, being able to how model with your kids how you can talk about the fact that you're overwhelmed and letting them see and hear the things that you need to do to feel better, because it shows them that it's normal to get overwhelmed and to start being, again, paying more attention to their body and the signals they're getting, right? So in my house, we talk about a scale of 1 to 10. So sometimes my time of day, that's I know can be common too, is dinner time, right? Everyone's tired, everyone's hungry, they want dinner at 4:30, or they want to eat snacks, and you're trying to cook something and you've got somewhere else to go. So sometimes I'll be cooking dinner and I'll say, hey guys, I'm at a 6. I'm at a 6. Here's what I need at a 6. At a 6, I need 5 minutes to get this stuff in the oven. And then I just need to sit in my room for a minute and I'll be right back. If you have questions or something you need me to do, leave it here on this counter or make a note on this whiteboard and I will get back to it in just a minute. But I don't want to get to a 10 because yikes, who wants to feel like they're at a 10? Like, I have had a great day. I want to have fun with you guys. Just give me a minute. Or just being able, whatever that looks like in your house. Hey guys, it doesn't even need to have a number. I'm feeling like I need to walk around the block. Anyone want to join me? Or I feel like I need to walk around the block alone and I will be right back. But showing them it's okay to do what you need to do when you start feeling overwhelmed, and helping them identify. I'm sure you know, looking at your kid when they're starting to get overwhelmed before they're even ready to admit it, right? There's probably behaviors that you notice. There's triggers, withdrawal, or the way that they look tired, they're hunched over, you know, they didn't sleep well the night before. Pulling them aside and having that conversation. Hey, bud, like, it seems like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Like, is there anything you need from me? It might make them more annoyed for a while, but really, they probably do appreciate it, even if they act annoyed. But being able to show them that that's normal. Room organization, this is a big one. So a lot of times, a lot of my older kids especially, this can be a big point of conflict with parents. Is to the parents, room organization looks like one thing, and to the child, it looks like another thing. So first would be having a conversation with your kid. Hey, when I talk about keeping your room clean, this is like, what do you think it means to have a clean room? What is important to you for your room to be clean, and why? A lot of the kids I work with, again, will say, I feel less anxious and less stressed when my room is clean. So they, most of the time, want to have a clean room. There's maybe one kid I can think of specifically who said, I love when my room is crazy. It makes me happy. My stuff is everywhere where I can see it, right? But most of my little buddies are like, hey, yeah, I don't like it either, but cleaning a room takes forever. It's super boring. I don't know where things go. Um, my room is gross. It's been too long since I've cleaned it. It's gonna take too much time. I'd rather be playing video games. I'd rather be doing anything. Especially if they have a lot of schoolwork to do, then asking them to clean their room on top of that. So, helping your kid, like, hey, let's agree, especially if there's, again, that incentives, wants versus needs. Do they have a phone that they are on all the time? Is that part of what's keeping them from cleaning their room? Do they have things they want to do with you that could be an incentive? If you clean your room on this day, we'll do XYZ. Helping them break it down into chunks or zones, right? So let's just, every Tuesday, we're going to take out the trash. I want you to just bring down all the trash, all the plates, all the cups. Ask them, how would you, like, what different tasks are involved in cleaning your room? They'll tell you it's dirty clothes on the floor, putting away clean clothes, taking out trash, getting rid of cups and plates. And it feels like it goes on when they're looking at this room. So give them a 15-minute, let's set a timer for 15 minutes and see how much you can get done. We'll take a break. Let's do 15 more minutes before bed. You'll set a timer. If they might need you to be in the room. Sometimes we call that body doubling. Just have somebody else around while you're doing something can make it feel easier. Maybe they have an idea if they want to use baskets instead of drawers, or they don't like hanging stuff up. Asking them what systems they think would help, and maybe even looking online with them to see, hey, is there anything you want to try? Like at this point, I will try anything you want to try. Let's Google it together. Let's just see if there's something that might work. Putting things in their way helps. Put a hamper where it is literally in the way, or if there's continually a place where clothes pile up, put a hamper there. Get an extra hamper, have 7 hampers. Help them figure out something that works. And a lot of times the way that's helped my daughter feel like that is more important is talking about being a better roommate for the future, right? Right now she has her own room. So for a long time it felt like, well, I don't care if my room is this way because it's just me that has to deal with it. But she does talk a lot about wanting to go to college with her friends or wanting to live in a dorm room. And we've just had conversations about the reality of, do you want to live with somebody who is this kind of roommate? What kind of roommate do you want to live with? Well, how can we develop those skills for you so that you can have a great experience? In general, we want to come up with strategies that require the least amount of random memory recall. So what that means, that's that working memory piece. So we don't want to put hampers or things away into a closet where you can't see them. We want everything to be line of sight if we can, and also decreasing the amount of clutter can help. Um, Making things important is very important. So, math, for example, a lot of kids with ADHD struggle with math, and they might say, well, I don't really need math in what I'm going to do when I'm a grown up. And they might be right. But helping them figure out why is it important to pass your math class? So, what helps a lot of kids that I work with a lot of 5th graders, is talking about school like it's a video game. So if you're in a video game, usually there's tasks or something you have to do in order to pass to the next level. And school is the same way. Each class has X amount of points that you have to get to pass. So if your child is not super motivated to get their math homework done, showing them, well, we need to pass math in order for you to go to the next grade in school because you want to be a car designer. You want to be a lot of them like cars. I was going to say another car thing. Whatever it is that they want to do, a fashion designer, a teacher, they need to pass school. And so sometimes we have to do things that we don't like, and that could maybe even be their hard thing. My hard thing is I'm going to do my math homework without complaining. Can you imagine? For X number of days. Making it feel important and providing those incentives. A lot of the times we, even as adults, right, we have to trick ourselves into doing things that are important that we do not want to do. Passports. How terrible are passports? They're terrible, but we need them in order to go on trips, to leave the country. So we have learned over time that if we don't want to do something, sometimes we have to do it anyway. For me, I incentivize myself. So I will treat myself to Starbucks when I have to do things I don't want to do. Or I'll make plans with a friend to go to lunch after braving the post office to do the passports or the DMV or whatever the thing is that I don't want to do. I'll listen to a really fun song. Call a really good friend on the drive there because maybe it takes a minute to get there. Those are great things to even tell your kids that you have to do, right? Like, oh, you think this is bad. Like, I've got something bad too. Like, I have this report I have to do for work. I am not excited about it, but here's what I'm going to do to make it easier. Maybe you like to do the hard thing first. We call that eating the frog Or maybe you like to do the easiest thing first, eating the ice cream. It feels easier to get stuff done once you kind of get the ball rolling and do something that's not so terrible. So telling your kid how you do things, explaining it to them and showing them that it's normal and that it's not just ADHD that makes them not like to do these things, that even as adults, we have, that's kind of an ongoing thing, and it's good to develop strategies now. Scaffolding. So in all of these things, when we are trying to increase the amount of work that our kids do compared to what we are doing, a big word that's used a lot in executive functioning is scaffolding. So I like this graphic of this kid jumping from one, hopefully this is, I'm sure this is completely fake and this kid did not jump across this. He looks like he's from a musical. He's got like dance shoes on. Anyway, ignore me. So there's a big gap there, right? But it looks like he's able to do it. He looks like he's going to stick the landing. When we are increasing the amount of challenge that the work that we are asking our kids to do, we are going to do it incrementally and provide supports so that they can feel successful along the way, because we do want to emphasize the process and not just the end goal. So, if your child, if you are in a place now where you are every day telling your kid, walking through their agenda with them, and you're saying, here's what you need to do for math, here's what you need to do for science, here's what you need to do for English, and then you are checking their homework, you're reading over their essays, you're doing all of these things. Then you see this executive functioning video or another executive functioning video, and you think, my kid is going to fail. They're never going to learn how to do anything hard. They're relying on me too much. Never again. The kid comes home from school and you say, you're on your own. Look at your agenda. Get all your schoolwork done. I'm out, right? It's for your best. This is for the best. You're going to benefit if you do it yourself. If you pull back all of that support, your child is probably going to struggle, and it's going to make them feel like they're dumb, and it's going to make them feel like they're not capable of doing it. And they probably are going to give up or suffer silently. So we want to make sure we're pulling back a little bit at a time. If you are in a place where you are walking your kid through their agenda and through their assignments, that might look like having that conversation first. Hey, buddy, you've been doing such a great job with this, and I love spending time with you, but as you get older, it's really important for you to learn these skills of how to do the things that I'm helping you do. So today, I'm going to sit with you. Do you remember how to log into your school agenda? Okay, here's how I log in. Maybe you write it down and tell him what website to go to. Maybe you bookmark it. And then once he gets in there, ask the question, where do you think I would start if I was trying to help you with this? They can probably come, if you've done it enough times, they probably know. Our kids know us, right? They're like, you would say this and you would say that. Kids, a lot of the time, they know what their parents are going to say about different things because we probably say it a ton. So if instead of telling them, you say, what do you think I would say? They're probably right. They probably know what you would say. Or if they get stuck, you might say, well, where do you want to start? I want to start with science. Fantastic. Do you have anything for that you need to do? When do you think you should do that assignment? When do you think you should start studying for that test? Again, we're talking about trying to ask more questions instead of giving commands. So you are giving the process back over to them of helping them problem solve and prioritize. But again, if they get stuck, if they say, I have a test on Friday, so I'll probably start studying Thursday at midnight. I think that's my plan. Like, okay, how have you done on tests so far when you wait till Thursday at midnight? How do you think you're going to feel at midnight on Thursday if you wait that long? Probably not good. Probably not going to do well. Okay, well, why is it important to do well on this test? Oh, I do need to pass this class and my grade's kind of slipping. Okay, so we don't want to do that then. What other night? How early do you think you should start studying so that you don't feel stressed and you can do well on this test, since it's important to you to pass this class? And then working from there. So we're asking questions, but we're not completely giving over the reins, right? If you notice that your child just still doesn't really know what time frame or when to start things, help guide them by asking more questions. You want to start as broad as possible. Again, where do you think we should start? Open-ended questions, and then multiple choice if you need to. Do you think you should start studying on Monday or Tuesday if your test is on Friday? And then ask your kid what kind of support they need. How can I help you? You haven't really studied alone for a test before. Is there anything you need from me? Maybe they need to just explain something to you. Oh, I have a science test and I'm going to have to explain photosynthesis. Oh, would it be helpful if you explain that to me before to see how you do with it? And letting them kind of guide what they think would help them the most. The earlier that you start these things, it can be more helpful because we know obviously the stakes are going to be a lot lower in fifth grade, sixth grade. Than they're going to be once they get to high school. But if they are already in high school, it's never too late to start these things. You just may need to provide more support so that there isn't as much of a fall if your kid does need extra help and there's higher stakes. So what is executive functioning coaching? So what I do for my job is I work one-on-one, weekly or bi-weekly with my clients, either virtually or in person on all of these things. I ask them, what is important to you to work on? Is it grades? Is it organization? Is it getting out the door on time? Okay, well, why is that important? What kind of plan can we put in place to help you get there? What is our action plans? And then what might get in the way of you doing this plan? And what are we going to have in place so that that's not an obstacle for you? So that's kind of the outline of what a coaching session looks like. When I work with kids, I also require parent coaching, since that is a very important component for carryover and support. Um, Kind of as we discussed with that incentive structure. If I'm not working with an adult and the adult agrees to, if they get out the door every day on time for 5 days, they get this incentive, but I haven't spoken with the adult privately. And so the adult revokes the incentive, even though it was earned. That can be a big challenge for the child moving forward in terms of trust, and they're wanting to do something for an incentive if they feel like there's not going to be actual follow through of the thing that was agreed upon. Um, a lot of the, not even a lot, all of the parents I work with have fantastic ideas for how to help their kids. They've tried a million things, right? I can't think of any clients that I've worked with who say, my kid, their room is gross. They don't turn on stuff on time. They're completely emotionally dysregulated. I've never tried anything to fix it. I just came to you first because I don't even want to bother. I can't imagine that would ever happen. A lot of the time, it's parents who have strong executive functioning skills, particularly in the areas that are maybe areas of challenge for their kid. And it's creating some kind of tension in the home. Because to the parent, they're seeing a messy room and they're thinking, I'm really good at keeping a clean house. This is a reflection of me that I'm raising a child who doesn't know how to do this thing, even though they've been raised in this house where things are clean. So, let me show you all of the ways that I do it. And then, of course, when we tell our kids what to do, even if you're right, there can be some of that pushback. So a lot of the times when I end up working with kids, I may even end up suggesting a lot of the strategies that their parents have suggested. But because of the way it comes up through me asking questions as opposed to me telling them what to do, kids end up adopting a lot of the same strategies their parents have been trying to encourage them to use. But because I'm not the parent, they don't have to worry about failing me. It can feel more like an experiment. Okay, we're going to try this system to clean your room. And then I keep in touch with them throughout the week. How's that going? Is it working or not? Oh, it's not working. Why do you think it's not working? Oh, you need to move your hamper, or you need to do laundry more often, or you need to take out your trash on a different day of the week. Just because I'm a third party, a lot of times it can kind of help get that process started. And ideally with coaching, it's not an ongoing forever relationship, right? It's to help build some of these skills, especially with that parent coaching component, so that I can kind of help facilitate in the beginning, and then the parent and child can continue to develop strategies and then just seek out support as needed in the future. I also work with adults. So when I was doing my training to be an ADHD and executive functioning coach, I had to complete over 100 hours of coaching, one-on-one coaching with clients. I also did some group coaching, but primarily my clients were adults. So I have worked a lot with adults who are working on meal planning and working out more frequently and all that kind of stuff. So that is how I kind of help people with those things. So we have some time for Q&A if there's any questions from anybody. Oh, I love Julie listens to Bridgerton Radio. Oh, I love Bridgerton Radio. And we do know there's studies that show that classical music can be very, very helpful for productivity for people with ADHD or even without ADHD, people who just have difficulty focusing when they're doing kind of that singular, just focused, sustained attention work. My husband loves video game soundtracks. He and my brother will share with each other video game soundtracks. Yoshi's Crafted World and Zelda, I've heard, are very good for that. Because they don't have words, there's repetitive patterns of music, so you're not getting distracted or caught off guard by changes in something. It's kind of something you can anticipate. So it's kind of helps meet that threshold of input where it's gives you enough so that your brain is able to focus in on something else, but not so much that you get checked out of the thing you're trying to do. Does anyone else have any questions about anything that you would like a strategy for your kid? If not, or if you come up with a question later, on this next slide here, I have a website. It's themiddlecoaching.net. And I've just launched this business a couple months ago. I was operating it for a while at Alabama Game Changers. So I've been coaching with students for a while. But I'm still kind of building my independent business. So there will be more parent resources on there soon, blog posts, videos, just more information about strategies for some of the things we've talked about and just more in-depth reflections based on things I've noticed from some of my clients that have been helpful. More playlist suggestions. Yes, playlist suggestions would be great. Does anyone have any music that they listen to, or do you notice there's a TV show or a movie that you like to use, or also like any kind of compensatory strategies that you've used that you didn't realize that's what you were doing? I know I need walks. Walks help me a lot with my regulation. I can feel when I've spent too much time indoors even, and I need to go outside, and usually that's even a really great reset for me. It's just going outside for a minute can kind of make the world feel a lot bigger, not like everything's caving in on my head, and it does the same for my kids as well. They talk a lot in ADHD research as well about green, just getting your kids outside, putting them in water. So giving them something to drink or having them wash their face can be a great sensory reset. Or if you don't have any questions now, if there's anything that would be helpful in terms of video suggestions, something that I could post, something that you're interested in, send me an email at tiara@themiddlecoaching.net. You can reach me there. I also have a Facebook page for The Middle Coaching. And I will be sharing a recording of this video on there for anyone who didn't get a chance to tune in tonight. And I think that's all. I just want to thank you so much for joining me. And if anyone has any questions again, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to work with anybody who just needs support in this area. I have a really big heart for this. As much as it is important for success of our kids as they're growing up to be independent, an even bigger piece for me is just helping that home environment to have the least amount of tension possible. Success is great. Your kid developing these things is great. But a lot of times what brings people to me is where those skills start to cause tension and conflict in the home, where um, parents are feeling more like jailers, or like they're constantly asking their kids to do things. Kids feel like they're being bullied all the time or told what to do. There can be a lot of tension, and then that can lead to a breakdown in communication. And we can see worse behaviors from kids who are acting out just because they feel like they are also disappointed in themselves that they're not doing enough and like they can't get it right. And I've seen a lot of improvements in just communication in a home after working with an executive functioning coach, or therapy is fantastic as well. Getting that support where you need it. so that you can be there for your kid and also make sure that you are taking care of yourself because it is a lot. These kids are wonderful and smart and fantastic and brilliant. Um, but it does require that extra effort on our part to make sure that we are staying regulated and controlled so that we can have access to these kinds of questions instead of our knee-jerk responses that we can sometimes have when we ourselves feel overwhelmed, so that we can provide those opportunities for our kids and not feel like we're constantly just chasing after getting somewhere on time or getting things done. Um, so yeah, thank you again so much, and I hope you all have a great night.